Okay, so good afternoon. Earlier today I visited Gracefield School in Lower Hutt with Communications and Information Technology Minister Amy Adams. This was to announce that a further 693 schools with around 230,000 students across New Zealand, including Gracefield School, will have access to ultra-fast broadband by the 30th of June next year. This includes schools in Invercargill, Gisborne, Dunedin, Whakatane, Nelson, Wellington, Greymouth, Timaru, Auckland and many other areas. Just over 500 schools will be connected by Chorus, one of the Crown's 4 partners for the ultra-fast broadband rollout. The other 191 schools will be connected by Chorus under the Rural Broadband Initiative. Today's announcement is in addition to the 221 schools with nearly 100,000 students that the government announced in October last year would have ultra-fast broadband fibre built past the gate by July of this year. It also follows the announcement last April that Chorus would build fibre to 521 rural schools under the Rural Broadband Initiative before the 30th of June next year. Last Friday we also announced that Enable, one of the Crown's other partners for the ultra-fast broadband rollout, would be connecting another 11 schools in Christchurch by July this year, bringing the total number of Christchurch schools with access to ultra-fast broadband to 71. This means that more than 1,500 schools and more than half of all New Zealand school students, or more than 410,000 children, will be able to connect to ultra-fast broadband by July of next year. And I think you'll agree that's a fantastic result. Today's announcement is part of the National-led Government's $1.5 billion commitment to nationwide ultra-fast broadband with speeds over 100 megabytes per second. Building a more competitive and productive economy is one of the National-led Government's 4 key priorities for our second term, and the rollout of ultra-fast broadband is a significant component of this. The rollout of ultra-fast broadband and enabling fibre to schools is making great progress. We are on track to achieving our objective of reaching all urban schools and 99.9% of school students by 2015. The 60 remaining remote schools will also be connected by wireless or satellite by 2015. No schools in New Zealand will miss out. Ultra-fast broadband will transform New Zealand's education system, making it one of the most wired in the world. This technology means that students anywhere in New Zealand can have access to the best teachers and online resources globally. In terms of the mixed ownership model, as you will have seen, the State-Owned Enterprises Minister has announced that legislation supporting the mixed ownership model will be introduced later today. The legislation is pretty straightforward and reflects what we've been saying about mixed ownership for quite some time. Mixed ownership will free up between $5 and $7 billion for the government to invest in priority public assets like modern schools and hospitals without having to take on more debt to do so. So that means $5 to $7 billion less that we would have to borrow at any time when the world is more and more focused on government debt, and we think as a government that's important. We've seen the types of problems European countries are suffering because of the debt trap their economies are strangled by. There's a situation New Zealand needs to avoid if we're to grow our economy and create better, higher paying jobs. Legislation being introduced today replicates Section 9 of the State-Owned Enterprises Act regarding the Crown's controlling stakes in the companies captured by the mixed ownership model. As I've said before, the government is totally committed to meeting its ongoing treaty obligations. Following a series of hui around the country and over 200 submissions, we've taken on board the views expressed regarding the retention of Section 9. Legislation also requires the Crown to hold at least 51% of all voting shareholding in each of the energy companies, and restricts our shareholders from holding more than 10% of the voting stock. Air New Zealand is not included in the legislation at this stage. For making decisions about the airline, the government is seeking further commercial advice on implementing its policy, which recognises there is a greater complexity around the company's existing shareholders' structure. The government has made it clear it will retain at least 51% of Air New Zealand. Following our own commemorations last month for the first anniversary of the 2011 Canterbury earthquake, I'd like to remember those in Japan who will be observing the 1-year anniversary of the Great East Japan earthquake on March the 11th. The quake was the most powerful to hit Japan, triggering a devastating tsunami and causing 16,000 people to lose their lives. A further 5,000 are still missing. A year on, Japan's determination to rebuild and recover is something we in New Zealand can take heart from. I've written to my counterpart, Prime Minister Noda, to express on behalf of New Zealanders our thanks for Japan's unhesitating help during Canterbury's time of need, and our sympathy as the people of Japan rebuild their lives and their communities. I'd like to note that this year, Japan and New Zealand celebrate 60 years of diplomatic relations. The fact that both countries went so swiftly to one another's aid in the aftermath of earthquakes underscores the depth and closeness of these historic ties. Just in terms of the House, you'll be aware of in session this week, we're progressing a number of committee stages on the audit paper. We also have the first reading of the mixed ownership model bill on Thursday. We've extended sitting hours on Thursday and Friday, and progressing a number of treaty settlement bills, including 4 committee stages and 5 first readings. In terms of activity, I'll be in the House and of course at courts tomorrow and Wednesday. I'll be in Wellington as well. On Thursday I'm in Tauranga before going to Auckland for the launch of Women's Entrepreneurs Week. On Friday I'm in Wanaka. On Saturday Pacifica, and Sunday I'm at the Kiwi Show, and a few other bits and pieces in my other